Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 695. 695. Saturday, February the 16th, 2019. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's get right to it. Well, it appears that Ocasio-Cortez is not just driving Madame Botox, Nancy Pelosi, nuts. She's now driving Mario Cuomo, Mario the Pious. She's now driving him nuts as well. He is now suffering the consequences of the wild-eyed commie without a clue. Amazon has decided to take advantage of Cuomo's late-term abortion law by aborting their plan to build a massive facility in New York. New York offered Amazon $3 billion in state and city incentives to lure them in. Amazon was ready to locate in New York, where they would have created 25,000 new jobs paying around $150,000 a year. These jobs would have been largely in Ocasio-Cortez's district. But after being harassed and insulted by the labor unions and Ocasio-Cortez and her group of wild-eyed commies, Amazon has decided to abort their mission in New York. And of course, Ocasio-Cortez is thrilled by Amazon's decision and is calling her efforts a huge victory in fighting corporate greed. Cuomo, on the other hand, like Pelosi, is finding out that Commie Cortez is a serious liability. Cuomo blasted Cortez, saying that Cortez has put her own narrow interest ahead of the community. The commune. Not good for the commune. So thanks to Cortez, New York can now say bye-bye to 8 million square feet of office space and $10 billion in tax revenues over the next 10 years, not to mention those 25,000 folks in her district who might have got some of those $125,000, $150,000 a year paying jobs at Amazon. That also doesn't include all the construction workers, many of them union construction workers, pipe fitters, plumbers, bricklayers, block layers, electricians, most of them probably all unionized. Now, they're not going to have a job building this massive facility. So not only did they lose the jobs that would have been provided at the actual facility, they've lost all the construction jobs from the massive building project that would have taken place. Not to mention the other things that happen naturally when you build something like a building of this size and of this magnitude. Obviously, all the local businesses the restaurants, they begin to profit from it. You get more local tax revenue, so you can fix those broken streets and all the other things that they have problems with in this particular district in New York. All this stuff now gone away thanks to the wild-eyed commie, Ocasio-Cortez. And again, Cortez is the gift that keeps on giving for Republicans. And she's, of course, Nancy's nightmare. And now, Cuomo's nightmare as well. Woo! Wouldn't want to be ya. There you go. I'm telling you, I'm really starting to think that she is a Republican plant. That she's somehow, it's a secret plan. She was groomed by, I don't know, someone. Maybe Steve Bannon. She was groomed by somebody and plugged in. I mean, because I don't know how you can possibly be. In fact, when you think about how stupid Cortez is, consider this. She was elected by a whole bunch of people in her district who think that she's smart. Now, how dumb do you think they are? Unbelievable. Well, the Chicago cops have arrested the 2 Nigerian guys, friends of Jussie Smollett, that they are describing as potential suspects in the alleged attack on Smollett. Smollett, of course, was a no-show on Friday morning where he was expected to meet with the police about the matter. My guess is they wanted him to go take a look at a police lineup. I believe he described his attackers as white guys. Now, I don't know if you've seen the picture of these two Nigerian dudes, but they're definitely not white. Let's put it that way. They are definitely not white. The farthest thing from it. We'll see how that works out, but this looks like another hoax, this time perpetrated by this left-winger, who we're hearing that he did it to get, because he was being, written off the TV show or whatever. And it appears that the cops figured out pretty early on that this guy was bullshitting them, and they confirmed their suspicions recently, according to sources close to the story, that they had asked him for his phone records, his phone logs. And at first he refused to give them the phone logs. So they went ahead and got a subpoena to get his phone records. In the meantime, he decided to go ahead and turn over his phone records. But once they got his phone records, now having subpoenaed them and gotten them themselves, they took a look at the phone records he provided and the ones that they got through subpoena, and they realized that he had gone into his own phone records that he gave them and had removed quite a few calls. So the fact that he doctored it before he gave it to them made them very, very suspicious. And that's how they knew which numbers to take a look at. And that's how they were able to wind this thing down. So I would say that he's probably going to be charged with reporting a false crime. And they'll hit him with a pretty big fine, because they'll take into consideration how many hours of man hours of police work went into trying to solve this crime, which turned out to be, it appears to be a non-crime. Either that, or he's going to have to press charges against these two guys who are apparently his friends and probably had nothing to do with any attack. It was all staged. They were probably part of the plot. And more importantly than that, he's going to have to explain why he lied, because he said his attackers were white guys with MAGA hats. These guys are definitely not white guys. And I don't see him wearing MAGA hats. There you go. So, man, I'll tell you what. Dumbass of the week this coming week is going to be very, very, very difficult. You have Ocasio-Cortez celebrating the fact that she just cost her own district 25,000 jobs, paying $150,000 a year, and her community in $10 billion in tax revenue over the next 10 years, not to mention all the other benefits that go along with that. And now you have this guy here, Mr. Smollett. He's certainly a candidate for Dumbass of the Week, trying to stage something like this, going to the police, doing the whole thing, knowing he should have known they would have figured this thing out. But anyway, there's two good candidates for Dumbass of the Week right there. Let's see. Let's move on. We have Trump has signed the bad bill to avoid the government shutdown. He's also, at the same time, declared a national emergency and is signing that paperwork as we speak. Let's see. Mulvaney says that there's $8 billion that Trump can get access to. Now, of course, this will go to the courts, and it will probably, they'll try to fast track it. Ultimately, it will end up in the Supreme Court, where there'll be two issues. Number one, was Trump legally able to declare the national emergency? That will be an absolute resounding yes. He certainly can. It's within his powers under Article 1. And then the other issue is he able to use these other funds? Because Congress does have the power of the purse and they allocate the money. So that will be more of a blurry issue. But I think ultimately, because we saw previous presidents allocate money after declaring a national emergency, that it would be awfully unusual and extraordinary if in fact Trump was not able to do the same as previous presidents have done. So we'll see how that goes, but that's where that's going. Now, a lot of people are upset about Trump signing this bill. It was a bad bill. He said it was a bad bill. He didn't want to sign it either. But it's my understanding that the way this thing worked out was that Trump had decided a couple weeks ago that probably he was going to have to declare a national emergency because he could see the Dems are clearly not interested in border security. They weren't going to give him the kind of money he wanted for the wall. They were going to put all kinds of stipulations in there and create all sorts of problems. He was well aware of all of this. He was getting all of this. He's been getting it for the last 2 or 3 weeks from people on that committee that have been telling him what's going on. He knew the game. He knew he was going to be getting a bad bill. So he decided a couple weeks ago he's probably going to have to declare a national emergency. Now, apparently, he made that pretty clear to McConnell. And apparently McConnell said, well, I don't know if there's support for that. You may not want to go that route. It may not be a good idea. Another government shutdown if you don't sign the bill. And I don't know if I can get support for you for a national emergency or whatever. That could be a lot of problems. So apparently what it came down to was a deal between Trump and Mitch, which is that Trump said, okay, I'm going to hate this bill that you're going to give me, but I'll tell you what, I will sign it if, in fact, you will guarantee me the votes and the support that if I do a government shutdown, that you'll make sure I got at least the 51 votes I need in the Senate to make sure that I don't run into any problems declaring the national emergency. Because the Dems are certainly going to fight it in the House. They'll probably get a party line vote to try to do something to stop that. So it'll go to the Senate, in which case I need you to make absolutely sure that you don't have a bunch of defectors on the Republican side that would keep me from declaring the national emergency. So if you will guarantee me that you can ensure me that I'll not have any problems declaring the national emergency, which I intend on doing, then I will sign your damn bill, even though I know it's going to suck. And that's apparently the deal that was reached. And I understand that Trump was very unhappy when he finally got the bill, and he actually called Mitch and basically told him, I really don't want to sign this bill, it sucks, you know. At which point Mitch basically said, yeah, but we got a deal. You know, I know the bill sucks, you want to sign it, but we got a deal, and you said you'd sign it if I guarantee you that I've got the votes to make sure that we don't get your national emergency executive order overturned. I can assure you that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen in the Senate. So, I mean, that's the deal. So apparently Trump was reluctantly forced to go along with it, and I expect that it will cause problems. But, you know, Trump, he's going to keep driving on, and he's on the right side of the issue. He's on the right side of this issue. And if the Democrats want to fight this, if they want to go into courts, at the same time they'll be in the courts trying to fight providing this border security. We're going to have these 3 caravans with God knows how many people getting closer and closer to our border. And here in about 2 months, you're going to start seeing the Democratic debates really heating up. So in the middle of all that, these Democrats are going to be out there having to take a hard position on what to do as the migrants are approaching the border, and as this is working its way through the courts. It's going to stay in the news, and it's a loser for Democrats. We know that 72% of people support Trump's position on securing the border. So, you know, yeah, the Democrats can go ahead and try to play it this way, but Trump's holding the winning cards, and I think he knows that. It's just a shame that Republicans and the Republicans on that committee that put this bill together didn't understand what winning is and what you do when you're winning, how you leverage your power and your authority when you're on the right side and you know that you're winning. I mean, the Republicans fight like they're losing. They fight like they're down, you know, 60-0 in the fourth quarter. I mean, it's really, really hard to watch. And if you ever doubted that Trump is literally a one-man army fighting on his own, he has a couple, 2 or 3 dozen guys in the Freedom Caucus, but other than that, he's pretty much fighting the deep state and the swamp on his own. He's you know, he's actually done far better and exceeded my expectations. He's done far better than I thought he could. I've never seen anybody fight like Trump fights. I mean, he's absolutely relentless, man. So I mean, I support him 100%. Yeah, I'm not happy about the bill. It's a bad bill, but I understand the way things work. And the sausage-making capital of the world, Washington, D.C., the District of Criminals, and the homeland of the swamp. Well, it looks like, well, we may just have us another awesome candidate for Dumbass of the Week. I mean, Ocasio-Cortez costing herself $10 billion in revenue, 25,000 jobs, paying $150 grand a year. We have this nutcase actor, Mr. Smollett, trying to stage his own attack, and that being blown out. And now we have, of course, Andy McCabe caught in another lie. So McCabe told Congress in his testimony under oath that Trump never interfered or obstructed his investigation and he said that he had zero discussion with the president about the FBI investigation. He told Congress that Trump never interfered or obstructed his investigation, and that they had zero discussions on the topic about the FBI investigation in Russia and all these things. But now he is told Scott Pelley on 60 Minutes, we saw from that little teaser clip, that he had began an obstruction case against the president the day after he had his second meeting with Trump. He met with Trump on the evening of the day that Comey was fired. That was the 9th of May, 2017. And then he met again with Trump on the 10th, the very next day. Those are the two private meetings he had with Trump. At which point he says Trump never tried to obstruct, or even they didn't even talk about it. But then he turns around on the 11th, the very next day, and opens an obstruction case. Uh-oh. That's going to be a hard one to sort out, don't you think? So now, of course, he is telling Scott Pelley of 60 Minutes that he opened up a case of obstruction against Trump. I mean, that's a problem. So I wonder which version of his story is in his book, because now we got two different versions. Maybe we'll have three. So McCabe is, in my mind, the weakest link. He is the one that's most likely to be the fall guy for all the other perps, and he is also most likely to be the one to crack first. I've always thought that he was the weakest link. I think Bruce Orr is also a weak link, and I think either of those two, McCabe or Bruce Orr, could be the ones that crack. But I think McCabe's the most likely, because he's the one that's going to be looking at the probably the most jail time. And when he's facing all that jail time, and he knows that he can turn and become state's witness, and keep in mind he's in a war with Rodenstein and the DOJ. I don't know how much love he has for Comey these days, but I think it's very likely that McCabe will be the first deep stater targeted for possible indictments. And I think when that happens, I think that he is going to probably turn state's evidence and become a witness for the state. And he'll probably plead guilty to something that'll get him out of jail pretty quick. But he will take a lot of other people down. That's what I'm thinking. He would be my pick. So he could certainly be definitely a top qualifier for Dumbass of the Week, because let's face it, when you go on national television and admit that you participated along with your friends in a conversation about launching the 25th Amendment and orchestrating a coup on the president without any real evidence or cause, that is a pretty stupid thing to do, I would say. And, of course, his lawyer is already walking that back. But there you go. McCabe goes on national TV and admits he participated in discussions about a 25th Amendment coup. That is a pretty stupid thing to do, especially when you're already under facing criminal charges. And, of course, now we see he's lying to Scott Pelley about, he says he opened an obstruction case on the 11th after the two previous days meeting with Trump, at which point he told Congress that Trump never obstructed or got involved in the investigation at all. There you go. Another candidate for Dumbass of the Week. Man, oh man, it's going to be a very tough competition this coming week. And we have Kevin McCarthy, who is now pressing Adam the Bug-Eyed Fool Schiff to recuse himself from his leadership position on the House Intelligence Committee until more is known about his interactions with Glenn Simpson and why he didn't notify the committee about his meeting with Simpson in Aspen. McCarthy says that Schiff is also running cover for Confusion GPS. And so far, Schiff is refusing to discuss the issue or recuse himself. Well, that shouldn't surprise anybody. That's how he flies. But it was he who put the pressure on to force Nunes to step aside while he underwent an ethics investigation. Of course, none of that would have been possible without Paul Big Ears Eddie Munster Ryan pulling the string on that one and making sure that Nunes got yanked. They tag teamed him. Schiff and Big Ears Eddie Munster Ryan tag team Devin Nunes. So we'll see what happens with Schiff here, but I don't expect much. but he certainly does have some explaining to do. The Rotten Reverend. The Rotten Reverend was asked by reporters as she was attending John Dingell's funeral if she was going to run in 2020. She refused to answer and dodged the question, asking, quote, "What do you think of the candidates? Are you happy?" The Rotten Reverend has every intention of somehow finagling her way into the Democratic nomination. I'm telling you that. I'm sure that she's actively got her goons working behind the scenes to do all sorts of things to discredit and do harm to the current group of candidates that are out there. I mean, she can get media people to write stories about them that are unflattering. She can put her goons there to cause problems. She can create a lot of problems for these people. Now, the problem that the Rotten Reverend Clinton has is that even the DNC has washed their hands with her. Nobody wants her to be the Democratic nominee. They have no confidence that she can win. They have no confidence that she can even campaign. She couldn't do it in 2016 without the Scooby van. They don't want anything to do with her. They want her to go away. But she refuses to go away. She doesn't care. She's incorrigible. So you can bet that she's working every angle she can. And her position is probably, yeah, I know they hate me. I know the DNC doesn't want me. I know the Democrats don't want me. That's okay. I don't give a damn what they want. And she'll go ahead and work whatever game that she can behind the scenes and force herself upon them if she has to. Which she does have to. They don't want her. Don't count her out. Don't count her out. She has no scruples whatsoever. She'll do anything for power, including slit the throats of every one of those Democrats. That's probably why Biden doesn't want to throw his hat in the ring. He knows Hillary. He knows Hillary. He doesn't need it. He doesn't need it. Keep watching the Rotten Reverend Clinton. Well, this is unfortunate. It appears that Uncle Bob the Executioner has interviewed Sarah Sanders. Now, what possible reason would he have to interview Sarah Sanders? Whereas he think that Trump sat around and talked about his Trump-Russia collusion with her or something? But I'm pretty sure that would have been a fun interview because she is tough. She is very tough. And I bet she didn't put up with any BS whatsoever. I bet she pretty much told him the way things is. More than once. They probably didn't enjoy that interview very much. Of course, we have, another prime candidate for Dumbass of the Week. It's going to be a tough decision this week. We have Robert O'Rourke, whose father-in-law is, of course, a multi-billionaire real estate developer. Robert O'Rourke, the skateboarder, says that he would be willing to remove the walls in El Paso. He'd be willing to remove the walls in El Paso. Well, I'm pretty sure he's not going to win El Paso, that voting district. And of course, then we get Kirsten Gillibrand coming out and saying she too would be open to the idea of removing the wall, I guess in El Paso or anywhere else. There you go. That's two people out of the race. The skateboarder and of course Kirsten Gillibrand. Taking down the walls would not probably play well in the electorate when the electorate clearly supports 72 or 74%, depending on who you believe, that we need border protection, we need border walls, whatever you want to call it. So she's definitely on the wrong end of that argument along with the skateboarder. But that won't stop them because they're both dumbasses and likely candidates for Dumbass of the Week. Well, as I was just mentioning to you about what a dumbass McCabe is for coming out and admitting on national TV that he participated in discussions about a 25th Amendment coup against the president, that's a really bad idea. Most lawyers would frown on that. In fact, most lawyers would fire you or just not represent you anymore if you did something like that. They'll probably be telling you not to write any books or do any interviews when you're already up to your eyeballs in kimchi. But it appears now that Mr. McCabe's lawyer, Mr. Bromwich, is now walking back the statement made by McCabe to Scott Pelley about the 25th Amendment activity to remove Trump from office. Yeah, he's trying to walk it back. The problem is, it's not even close. I mean, as far as it being cloudy or a misunderstanding or a misspeaking or anything like that. I mean, McCabe is clear, exactly, perfectly clear about what he's talking about, because he goes into some detail and even admits that it wasn't just one discussion, it was multiple discussions. He talks about Rodenstein wearing a wire. I mean, it's a very detailed, specific description he gives of this activity. And you can try to go on TV as his lawyer or go out and make a statement to walk it back, but it's there, and it's going to be back on Sunday night, and everybody has seen it. Mr. Barr is probably taking a look at it right now. And I'm sure that everyone around him, Peter's been stroking us, Lisa Page specifically, as well as Mr. Priestap and all the rest, they're probably cringing, absolutely cringing at having heard McCabe make that admission. It's just, definitely he is a candidate for Dumbass of the Week. Well, believe it or not, Justice Ginsburg is back to work. That's right, she's back to work. I'm sure she's been pumped up with God knows what kind of space-age meds. Maybe she had a blood transfusion. Maybe they installed a baby demon heart. I'm not sure what may be going on here, but she is back. And she appears to have, a pulse, so clearly it's not just like a stuffed version. They didn't have a taxidermist get her fixed up and send her over there by truck or anything. It appears that she's actually talking, breathing, and living, so it appears that they've done some miracle work there in the medical community to bring Ginsburg back from certain death. And she still claims that she can stick around for another 5 years. She says that she thinks she can go until she's 90. Maybe. I wouldn't doubt it. She's probably so pumped, so full of formaldehyde that she could live to be 410. Uh-oh. It appears that only 26% of Democrats support more Russia investigations after the Mueller probe has ended. Only 26% of Democrats support more Russia investigations after the Mueller probe has ended. Why? Because they're sick of it. They've been through 2 years of having their hopes brought up so many times, only to find that the story was untrue, or the evidence was wrong, or the information was flawed, or something. Good old Rachel Madcow and all her friends over at MSNBC, along with her friends at CNN and all the other left-wing places, have had these crazy leftist commies doped up on hopium that Trump would be caught in a collusion situation and he would be impeached and all this. And now they realize it simply isn't true. It is not going to happen. So do you think that Democrats, after having been through this torture for the past 2 years, want 2 more years of it? And if Uncle Bob the Executioner couldn't get it done, 3 or 4 other committees in Congress couldn't get it done, every liberal journalist on the planet and every major news organization trying to prove the dossier was true and all these other things, if none of that was successful, what makes them think that the bug-eyed fool, Adam Schiff, and that nut over in Mr. Nadler are going to somehow be able to sort it all out and sniff out the crime? It appears to me that Mr. Nadler has already moved on, because on Friday, as soon as Trump signed the national emergency order, Nadler immediately filed some sort of a deal to investigate Trump for declaring a national emergency. Yeah, he's going to investigate Trump for declaring a national emergency. I wonder why he did it. What's he up to? Could this be something it could be a Russian plot? Could Trump be working with the Russians to shut down the border? Gee, I wonder what's going on there. Of course, the Russians are furious about Trump's possible intervention in Venezuela, because, of course, the Russians have a military base in Venezuela. They've been trying to cuddle up with Maduro. They've been in his good graces, and they actually were going to expand this military base they have down there. We also have China involved in Venezuela. Of course, the Russians, I mean, they love Maduro, because under Maduro, the oil exports from Venezuela have dropped massively, which is good for Russia. They probably love seeing Venezuela as a failed state. It's good for their business, if nothing else. But yeah, this is Jerry Nadler for you. I mean, this guy is, again, he could easily be dumbass of the week any week as well. It just, I'm telling you guys. I mean, I'm not joking. I'm between Ocasio, Marty Feldman-Cortez, Nadler, Mad Max, the Rotten Reverend Clinton, all the revelations are about to come as soon as Uncle Bob is done, and I expect that'll be pretty soon. With Andy McCabe going out and admitting on national TV about the coup. You have the Cortez out there killing business, the business climate in her own district. I mean, and this is going to catch on and continue. Pelosi has no way to herd these wild cats. You got this other nutty Arab woman, Omar, constantly making anti-Semitic statements. I mean, they want 70% tax rates. They want to eliminate. They went to the Communist Manifesto. They want to eliminate airplanes, cars, everything you can think of. I mean, it's just it's a party that's not even close to relative. They may appeal to the most extreme left, maybe 10% of the country, maybe, if it's that much. I mean, I see a gigantic landslide coming in 2020. I mean, Trump could win New York. He could win Ocasio-Cortez's district. I mean, the farthest three left candidates the Democrats ever ran was, in modern history, since World War II, would be, of course, George McGovern, and that led to them getting their ass kicked. Then they ran Mondale, who promised us he was going to raise our taxes. Absolutely 100% promise. I guarantee I'm going to raise, elect me president, I'm going to raise your taxes. And then we got Dukakis. It was just, when he did the little, the ad with him sitting in the tank, riding in the tank, and his little head sticking out of the tank. That was just too much. I mean, all three of these guys got destroyed in landslide elections. And the country has not moved that far to the left. There may be pockets of the country, I think, that have moved to the left. But still, the majority of the voting districts in the country, and we're talking about the Electoral College here because that's the game. But if you look at the Electoral College, it's still the majority of states that you have to win in the Midwest, the South, the Southwest. These are still, in the center of the country. These are still center-right places, and I just see if things continue as they are now, with Ocasio, Marty Feldman-Cortez essentially being the voice and the face of the Democratic Party, and all these other candidates moving so far to the left to try to, please her base. I see Trump winning. Let's just say he's going to win much bigger than he did. It's hard to predict the number of states. I'm just going to count them, but I think 40 states might be possible. I don't know if he'll win 47, 48, 49, because you still do have California, Washington, Oregon. You still have New Jersey, Connecticut, New Hampshire. You still have some of these, about 8 or 10 states I think are just, I don't think a Republican, in any, as we stand here right now, I don't think there's any Republican that could win those. But Trump could certainly, I think he's going to win much bigger in 2020. And if the Dems allow their party to continue drifting farther and farther to the left, they just look crazy. You could very well see someone like Mr. Steyer come in with a more common sense business Democrat message, and he could literally split that party in half. In which case, when it's over, he could basically commandeer the Democratic Party or start a new party, and the Democrats could go the way of the Whigs. Everything is possible. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow with more TowerGate. See you guys. Bye.